20th, 2010, Manchester Community College. John, when did you first get hired at the college?
I got hired in November of 1977.
And what was the job that they hired you to do?
Well, the job was posted back in the summer of, I think it was called AV technician. It was a 10-month position. I saw it in the paper, and never been to Manchester, lived out in Lebanon. So I came to the Hartford Road campus at first, thinking that was a school. And they said, oh, no. So I sent me to the East Campus. And when I got there, I looked at this place, and I go, because I went from, I was out in Tucson at a community college there that was low building times 4. That's how big a campus it was. So, and I came to this, so I said, so I went in there and met Jack, and he explained the job to me and interviewed him. And he took me down to talk to the president, which I guess was Dennison at that time. And they said, well, the job has not been approved yet by the board. So, thank you. And as soon as we hear anything, we'll let you know. And I kept bugging them at least every 3 weeks I called to find out what the status was. And then finally in November they said, you're hired. And I came on board then.
So the interview was with Jack Scheidman, who was...
Jack Scheidman was director of media services, or I guess called AV, audiovisual services back then.
So what were some of your job responsibilities back then?
Well, back then we were back in the days of the 16 millimeter and the film strips, so we used to push a lot of that kind of equipment into the classrooms. We'd go through probably maybe 20 to 30 films a week because there's no video. Video hadn't really come on the market that we could afford yet. So we were pushing films around all over campus, film strips to each of the classrooms.
Now, back in the late 70s, were you also videotaping college events?
Not so much college events. So we did have a studio because they were teaching broadcast production. They weren't taping much because we didn't have a portable setup. It was all reel-to-reel back then. So it was very clumsy to move things around. The first major event I remember taping was the first Global Issues on the environment, which we held over in the auditorium. And we hauled out every piece of video equipment we owned and brought over there and taped over there.
So you've been here over 30 years.
Yes.
What are some of the changes you've seen?
Well, in terms of technology, we went from film strips. I helped the school purchase their first color video equipment for the studio. Saw the advent of video cassettes to VHS to Beta. Now we're in the new buildings with almost all digital equipment. All the classrooms are equipped with AV technology. We hardly push anything around in the classrooms anymore, so that technology has really leaps and bounds.
Now, I remember you used to work on the Christmas video.
Yes. Andy Paterno and I don't know exactly, I can't remember who started the whole idea. It was Andy or somebody else, but it was the first year, maybe about 10 or 15 of us who worked on this. And then after the first year, Andy said to me, "You want to do it again?" So we said, sure. We ended up doing about 10 of them, and that was a lot of fun. It was always last minute. We didn't start probably until beginning of November, middle of November, and had to push the product out by mid-January. So it was always a rush, last minute. I was always editing last minute, but that turned out to be a lot of fun. And then it just sort of petered out.
Now, for a good part of your early career, Jack Scheidman was the director, right?
Yes.
What kind of operation did he run?
Jack was sort of, he knew his stuff. I mean, graphics was his specialty. You ask him for something graphic-wise, he'd spend hours on one little project, but it came out meticulous. Everything was straight, everything was lined up correctly, but he did a very good job. I can remember every summer, we used to rearrange the AV Center. And without fail, he'd come up with something, and we'd rearrange. Hugh Edmondson, who worked in the evenings, and I would rearrange the whole AV Center every summer.
No, Hugh Edmondson was there.
Yes, Hugh Edmondson. He was the evening person from about 3 to 8. He was a character. He loved to talk. He could tell stories, talk your ear off for hours and hours.
Who were some of the other people you remember?
Well, going back, I had one little story I remember about Hugh. I was thinking about this. In the probably mid-'80s, we finally had hooked up in the college a closed-circuit TV network so we could send out videos from our location to the classrooms. And one evening, he used to send out Mary Ann Bianchi. He began a biology class that dealt with sexuality. And she would rent films and videotapes, and we would put them in our machine and send them out to her classroom. Well, one evening, somebody asked Hugh to send a video out to their classroom, and Hugh mixed signals or something and sent out this sexual, explicit videotape to one of the classrooms. And of course, we don't have any phones at that point, so the instructor had to run all the way over from the classroom to Hugh, and of course he couldn't find Hugh because Hugh was off doing something else. So it ran for about 10, 15 minutes before he got the thing to turn off. That was pretty funny thing.
Any other funny stories from the year?
I remember the happy hours in the East Campus, either Lois Ryan or Alice Grand George office every Wednesday maybe, or I think it was Wednesdays. Afternoons. It would be a great place to gather, hear story. Remember John Gustafson telling some great stories, but it was always a good gathering of people, good food, good enjoyment, good times.
So, obviously, sitting in a relatively new facility, a digital studio, what are some of the accomplishments that you can look back at, having taken us from the East Campus, which was kind of primitive, black and white, not portable, to what we have today?
I think probably bringing the college into the video age. Jack was not big on video, as I recall. He like the older. He was used to 16 millimeters. Sort of like I am now with the digital. It's hard for me to comprehend everything that's coming along because it's moving so quickly. So I really pushed for upgrade the studio to color, and then start getting some portable stuff where I could start taping some stuff around campus. So I think that was one of the big things I did. I did a lot of production work for the college, a lot of taping of events that probably would not have been done if I had not pushed it. And I tried to keep the college moving forward as the times change, getting new technology, going from VHS to digital, now to tapeless media. So,
let's say you were talking to someone who just got hired to start working at the college in the next month or so. What advice would you give to them?
If they're an instructor, I would say get to know the technology. I think our students have become used to being taught with technology. Then probably if you were to get up and just lecture them, you'd probably lose a lot of them because they're used to seeing something visual. I think a lot of our students learn better visually. So incorporate the technology. Don't just use it for the sake of technology, but try to incorporate so that it actually means something to the students.
And let's say you had to hire a new person full-time to work with you, in the area of media. What advice would you give to that person?
Advice. Well, assuming they were trained in the video end, I'd also start training them because a lot of the students nowadays concentrate very much just on video. I mean, they know the video, they know editing, but some of the other skills, some of the stuff we still do, simple patching of stuff, simple of fixing cables, bringing the right cables to the right jobs. So I would suggest to them that they broaden their skill set.
Anything else you want to add?
Just the fact that I've seen this college go from, like I said, wheeling 16-millimeter projectors into a classroom into now being able to access almost any technology you'd like right from a teacher station. The instructor doesn't have to really worry about the technology working Because in the older days, you know, they'd always have to worry about the film breaking or something happening. Now it's pretty much seamless, thanks to the technology and I think the technicians who have helped install and work here.
John,
Yes.
what is your title now?
My title now is Director of Media Services. I've went from a progression of titles when I was working with Jack, and it was basically an audiovisual technical assistant to media assistant. When the Low Building came online, they split the two services, so Jack ran the service operation up in the Low Building. I ran the services down the Media Center. Jack retired in that first in the late 90s, and then I became director from then on. We've merged with IT since then. We've broken away back from merged out of IT back with academics, and now we're over in the marketing side. So we've come a long way.
Great.
Okay.
Well, good. That was good.